Yes, here we go, finally. I just got the old tech issue sorted out there. Bought a new laptop, Terry. Thought it'd be all high tech on myself, and I'm back on the laptop, mate, because I just can't work these things. I'm shit at it. How the devil are you, mate? Good to see you.
Yes, I'm good, Bhoycie. Quiet Christmas. Enjoyed that today. Really enjoyed that performance. You can caveat it all you like. It was only St Johnstone at home, but I thought that was right up there with some of the best performances that we've had this season. And we were able to make some changes as well and get some players rested ahead of. I was going to say a big game next week, but it's quite hard to see it as a big game. But I'm sure we'll get into all of that. I think they've just finished it. I think they've just finished it for a park there now, have they?
No. I mean, another day, bigger gap at the top. That's the last two games. We've extended it from 10 points to 14. It's crazy. And, this is us out of form. And I've got quite a lot of stats. You've probably been sent it in one of your Celtic group chats already in the last couple of days. It's went round about 2024. So after we talk about the game, I'm going to read them all out and just sort of round up what has been a pretty impressive calendar year supporting Celtic. There's some fine records in there.
Look forward to that. The Bhoycie Bus chat's the only Celtic chat I'm in.
Oh, is it?
Fucking aye. None of my mates are in support Celtic. And then the guys that I know that do support Celtic, I wouldn't be close friends with them that I would have their mobile number and stuff like so.
Fair enough, mate. I'm surprised you've got friends. But
one or two.
Right, Terry, talk me through team lineup. There was the Yang experiment goes on, third start in a row. Cal McGregor came out the midfield. There was a different dynamism to Celtic's midfield, and maybe just sometimes when a player's so iconic like Cal Mac is, the other guys don't breathe as much, and that's not a slight on Cal McGregor in any way, shape, or form. But when there was extra responsibility to be taken today, it felt like all three were kind of right up for doing so. So it was an interesting experiment as well to see what a Celtic team looks like without Cal Mac, but it's not something we're accustomed to over the last decade. So that was a real plus point for me as well, that maybe he could be game managed a wee bit better, and it's not the be all end all, which I've got no problem with. Other notable starters, I think Scales is keeping Trusty out right now. And I was surprised Kyogo came straight back in. I think Maeda was pretty hard done by there. But what do I know? He gets 2 goals. It all worked out well there as well. You're still waiting to see your Finnish goalkeeper, but it'll happen one day, Terry, mate. It'll happen one day. Any shocks in the lineup to you?
For the purposes of the conversation, let's still say that Thursday's game is a big game. I think it was reassuring to get Johnson back in and get some minutes into the legs. So he's clearly back and he's okay. I thought today might have been an opportunity for Carter Vickers more than McGregor to get some rest, but he started Vickers and he started Scales, and I think clearly Scales is now back in possession of that jersey. I don't think there's any doubt about that. Bhoycie came in at left back, which I was glad to see, and I thought he played really well. I think him and Taylor are similar in terms of stature, and he can also invert, he can overlap, but I just think he's more forward thinking. I think that he plays with his head up. He isn't as risk averse as Taylor. Taylor, a lot of the time, Taylor's first thought is, can I play this backwards to Scales? Whereas Bhoycie plays with his head up. He wants to go forward. He wants to start attacks. So good to see him playing as well. Our goalkeeper didn't get a look in. He'll never get a look in, but I guarantee you at some point this season we will need to call on this guy and he'll be cold. Midfield without McGregor, good opportunity for those 3 guys. And if we look at the 4 goals that we got today, all 4 assists came from that trio of players. I thought all 3 were actually impressive in their own way. Bernardo, a little bit more understated, but I think he was playing the deepest. And given that we were on the front foot for vast majority of that game, I think he still had a very, very good game. I think the fact that he stayed on the entire game probably is a pointer to Thursday that he'll be the one that drops out for McGregor to come back in again. Thought Engels was good. Myself and Phil chatted the other day. I thought Engels had a better game against Motherwell. I thought he was popping up in more advanced positions. And again today, that was the same thing. He was roaming. He was turning up predominantly on the right, but he was finding himself on the left. He was finding himself through the middle. I think he's actually got the stadium man of the match both days in those 2 home games. Thought Hatate was sharp as well. Some really good passes. Then Yang. So I washed my hands of Yang. So I've been backing Yang right up until the Motherwell game, and I thought I'm going to give him one more go, and then I didn't think he did anything at all in that game, and I washed my hands of him. And I thought today's probably the most impressive that he's been. He started on the left and got loads of the ball. Still no end product, for everything that he looked dangerous. He was able to beat men. He was able to get into good positions. There's still nothing in terms of goal threat or the final assist coming from him. But I know there's a player in there. There's definitely a talent in there. Whether that comes to fruition at Celtic, I still would be doubtful. I thought Coon was virtually unplayable at times. I think you could see from the 3rd minute where he plays the ball, that pass that it's kind of become a Nicholas Coon signature pass for Johnstone with the outside of the left foot, and that he played that within the first couple of minutes. Then he goes on a run shortly after where he beats about 15 players and just fails to get a shot away at the end. I thought he was back to his brilliant best. And Kyogo through the middle, I probably disagree with you a little bit. I think Maeda has looked really, really dangerous coming off the bench, but I think when he's had starts, he hasn't done himself justice when he's had the starts. I think when he's come on and he's had 15, 20 minutes, I think he's looked really, really sharp. And there's been games where he's come on where Kyogo, as he has done it many times throughout his Celtic career, he's had very, very few touches. He's had very little involvement. Then Maeda comes on and he's involved and he's hungry. I just think the start that he got, he probably didn't do enough. And as you said, Kyogo's there, and it's good to see him get goals, because that's, each season he's been with Celtic, the numbers are just dropping in terms of goal output. So it was good to see him get a couple. And it's a good opportunity to give McGregor a rest. I think we'll see that more often as this season goes on, because as we know, he's never gets rested. I think that's maybe the 2nd time this season we've started without him. I think you'll see that. It'll be infrequent, but it'll still happen. I think if we can reduce his season, he doesn't have the Scotland games anymore, so that's maybe 7 games in a season. If we can then rest him 5 times in a season, that's 12 games less than he would normally be playing. And if you do that over the next 2-3 seasons, you might get another season out of him that you wouldn't normally get if he was continuing to play week in, week out. So really, really impressive performance. The stat that I focused on with Phil the other day was only 4 goals conceded in 17. That's now only 4 goals conceded in 18, which I just think I've never known a Celtic defence to be so mean in all my time supporting the club.
That's a stunning record, that, to be fair. As I said, we will be talking about other stats and records that Celtic have been accumulating quietly. I know we're out of form right now, apparently. It's a strange out of form that we find ourselves in. Breaking the deadlock. I felt we got a wee bit fortunate in the Motherwell game. I was watching it in Tenerife, and I thought that penalty. I think if the old question we always ask, if it's soft, but once we broke the deadlock, we knew what I think it was going to open up a wee bit for us, and we were going to take advantage of it. This time around, it's real quality that has broke the deadlock and given us that opportunity to then sort of exert our dominance in the second half. Nicholas Coon, I mean, you're running out of, what's that word? Superlatives? I don't know how to pronounce it. But you're running out of praise that you can give this guy, because the turnaround, first and foremost, is the one that's so striking. But secondly, when Terry was saying earlier there about, Yang, it was probably Yang's best display in a Celtic shirt. He's playing from a bar and getting that judgment from such a low bar, and compared with now what our expectations are for the guys that regularly start on the wing, and that's Nicholas Coon and Dyson Maeda, who for me are in a straight shootout for Player of the Year. But Maeda's not far behind. If there was a poll right now, I think it would be Nicholas Coon. But I would say definitely the second highest chance for that's Dyson Maeda, and I do feel that the standards they're held to as Celtic players is the right standard and the standard we want our players to be held to. And I think when you're saying, it's not because you're doing it in a bad way, mate, but I just think when you're saying it's probably the best game we've seen from him so far, there's a subconscious there, mate, that I don't think he's very good. That's how that sounds to me, because he's not doing anything like the output of the other two guys. And Nicholas Coon showing all the great bits about him today. The directness has been his biggest change in his game. Getting his shot away quicker than what he was last year. He looked scared to cross or shoot at times last year and delayed and would cut in and then cut in again. This time around, it's 2-3 touches, bang. And that finish was definitive and sums up what's been just an incredible start to the season for a winger on the 29th of December to be on 14 goals and double figures for assists already. That is a astounding record. Whether it's, a lot of these in the Scottish League or not, don't let that fool you, because we don't get numbers like this year on year. So he deserves all the praise. And again, with that game, it was tight. I still liked how Celtic were playing, but you know what it's like if you're going at half-time and you've not capitalised on it. A few nervous murmurs, a nervous energy can be created, etc., etc. But Nicholas Coon just decided to grab the game by the absolute bollocks on the 30-minute mark. And some finish, Terry, but we've said that a million times this year.
Sorry for just getting up and walking away there, Bhoycie. I know the guys in the chat didn't believe. I didn't have a drop of drink all over Christmas, so I just wasn't interested. And I decided I was going to have one can of Guinness tonight, just when I'm on, because I enjoyed the performance, and the can of Guinness was so nice. I'm going to have another one.
It's me drinking you a drink, mate.
But see, Bhoycie, I recall about 6 weeks ago, you and I had a bit of a set to where I had the audacity to say that Coon's numbers were better than Jota's, and I think they definitely are. I think where he's at this season in terms of numbers is he's going to eclipse Jota's best season with us. And seeing that ball left Rio Hatate's foot, you knew Celtic were scoring. You just knew. You've seen this goal so many times. First touch was instant. He's on his left foot. I actually thought the second touch was a tiny bit heavy. I thought the defender might get a block, but once he cuts in on that left peg, you just know the ball's ending up in the net. And absolutely brilliant to have him back again.
I thought that. See the heavy touch part though. I thought that, and then when I watched the replay because I thought, well, you're going to watch anyway. But the ball's like a magnet to him, man. His reaction to whether that touch was heavy is just to ramp up the speed a wee bit more and the intensity. And he closes down whatever space there was from that slightly heavy touch so quickly that he's actually got the ball under complete control so instantly. He's an amazing dribbler. It's like a magnet to his feet though at times when he's dribbling like that.
Again, go back to that dribble that he went on where he just goes around absolutely everybody, and you're just thinking, pull the trigger, and he just kept going, dropping the shoulder another time. And I mean, if you think back to, I was a fan of Roberts, and I know the comparisons in terms of visually and the way they play. This guy's on a totally different level to Patrick Roberts, isn't he?
Yeah, I've got to agree. I mean, I liked Patrick Roberts, and I think what Patrick Roberts did was so important at Celtic is he transformed James Forrest into an absolute killer, if you like, for a few years. And that was, I do think, coincided with the resight. It was an 18-month loan that Roberts was on. And it looked like in his first 6 months, he joined in the January, and then it looked like he was ahead of Forrest. And then Rodgers' first season, it was a jostle at the start, and Forrest really won that battle, to be honest. So Roberts did a lot of good in that sense, but he's never going to have the output that Nicholas Coon's already got. And I take the point on Jota as well. Not everything is a direct comparison like that, though. Not everything. I think Nicholas Coon's a far more direct player than what Jota was. Jota's one of those guys that's got a bit of everything as well. And it's, you know, it's a good debate to have if you want to talk about good players for Celtic in recent times. You know, Jota, Nicholas, Coon, no problem. Happy to have that chat. But in terms of the numbers output now, it'd be safe to concede that he's going to eclipse Jota's best season, and that's fair enough. That shows the evolution of the team. We lost the 25 million winger. We've annoying, or worryingly at times looked like we've signed another project. But this one, you get the feeling now when you're looking at him in full flow since pre-season, by the way, this year.
Yeah,
that this was not, albeit in the price bracket of the projects, Terry, he was no project signing. This boy, he was a live one, definitely.
And I mean, just the two players that we've named there. Patrick Roberts is probably looking back on his career, and his best time was when he was at Celtic. That, you know, he wouldn't have expected to be playing in the English Championship. But, you know, these are now his peak years, and he was tipped for, you know, to be playing at the top end of the Premier League, and from he left Celtic, it's just gone on a downward spiral. And you could say the same about Jota as well. He's hardly kicked a ball since he left Celtic. But the one that's in the Celtic jersey at the minute is Nicholas Coon, and I've always been a fan of watching wingers over the years. And just seeing some, it's still the part of football that gets you most excited is when you see a wide man just taking on a fullback. There's something about it, you know. Scoring goals is great and all that, but just watching a player running, dribbling with the ball, it's the part of the game that still gets me on the edge of my seat or gets me off my seat. You know, it doesn't always have to end up with a goal, but where Nicholas Coon's concerned, it mostly does end up with a goal. Certainly this season. And
it's mind blowing how much faith you've now got that if he pulls the trigger he'll score, and yet in his initial spell I had no faith he'd pull the trigger, let alone think he'd be in a space by December.
I thought he was a total dud. I thought he was a dud, Bhoycie, when I watched him. I thought he was total dud. It just goes to show you, and I think now that's, you know, the likes of Engels and things that haven't made any snap judgment on Engels. You know, it's probably just watching Coon after a pre-season and having some time to settle in. It's probably going to mean that I don't make snap judgments. Well, I probably will still make snap judgments on players, but there's a lesson there. There's a lesson there to be learned that these are young lads and they do have to be given some sort of settling in period. And Engels definitely has been, in my eyes, has been more involved the last couple of games, but we probably won't see the absolute best of Engels maybe for another 18 months. Hoping that he stays at the club for that kind of time.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Hitate's pass, Bhoycie, yeah, we've touched on Coon. As soon as Coon gets it, you know it's 1-0. But Hitate's pass, that's probably it. You know, you look at it and it probably looks like a straightforward pass, but he's been struggling with the straightforward passes. He absolutely nailed that one. He absolutely nailed that one, and he nailed one later on. Then,
well, he nails the next one because it's
the give and go with Bernardo.
The set piece thing is very interesting, Terry. And what I think we're enjoying about watching Celtics, I agree, I enjoyed the whole display today as well, considering St Johnstone at home and it should be a comfortable win and we're that far ahead in the league. They're finding ways of entertaining us, keeping us on the edge of our seats. And I think today you've seen there's a wee bit more creativity in how we're going to be taking corners, because the short corners have been doing my fucking head in. Today, both the ones that come into mind, you know, the one where Bernardo does the flick in the first half?
Yeah.
Can you remember that? And that I really like the look of that move. Definitely straight from the training ground. Getting a wee bit of freedom. Maybe these are like players' ideas. I don't know. Is there a set piece coach at Celtic? Who's that? Probably Cam Strachan as well. But if there isn't, are these ideas that the players are all coming up with themselves? And that's just confidence oozing when you're seeing that attempt. And what I was so chuffed with was they had the belief to try another one from the training ground in the second half. That one comes off, and suddenly that gives you that, right, okay, these ideas work. Do you know what I mean? We were unlucky with the first one. We've tried a completely different version of it the second time. But again, I think completely taken as a blueprint from the training ground at Lennoxtown, 100%, and you get your end reward. But that dink over the top from Hatate is so deliberate because Bernardo is like a bullet, mate. Pass it sideways, it looks like it's going to be the patient build-up, and he just takes off. Hatate knows exactly what run he's making. It is all by design, not luck. And that dink over the top, that's the difficult bit because it's great to have the idea and the theory, but to execute that is a brilliant pass. I'm just gutted that Bernardo's volley didn't, smash off the underside of the bar, and that would have been icing on the cake. But like good strikers do, it gets followed up by Kyogo, who, if you actually look at it, Bernardo actually puts his head on his hands when Kyogo scores. It obviously just an instant reaction, but it did make me laugh a wee bit. It was funny. But what would you make of that goal, Terry? Because that to me is really encouraging that we've identified another area where we could improve, and I think we could improve from the first spell of Rodgers, and now we're seeing different ways to try and improve that area.
I'm sure when you were in Tenerife, you had absolutely no interest in watching the Bhoycie Bus on Thursday. But myself and Phil spoke quite a lot about the set pieces, and I was critical because I think when you get a free kick or a corner kick, that you're getting an advantage. You're getting an unopposed chance to place the ball into the danger area, and I think all too often we just use that as a short and just recycle the ball again, and you don't then benefit from the advantage of getting that opportunity to actually deliver a ball unopposed. And we talked then about the goal the other day where Scales got the flick and Maeda then got the header. And again, when you score from a set piece, you automatically think that's something we worked on in the training ground. I just think we should throw the ball into the box, not throw it in. We should deliver a quality pass from free kicks, get the big men up, target Scales, your biggest threat in the air. But I'm not opposed to the short if there's a purpose to it. And there was a purpose to the shorts today. All too often, we've just been taking shorts and recycling the ball because that's the modern thing that players do. They just take short frees or short corners. If there's a purpose to it, and if there's something that we've worked on, and you could clearly see, especially with that goal today, that didn't happen by chance. If there's a purpose, then absolutely 100%, vary it up. Sometimes you deliver the ball in, sometimes you take a short. But I just get really, really frustrated with this constant just set the ball down, recycle the play, and you've not gained any advantage at all because you already had the ball before you got the free kick or before you got the corner, and you're just, you're giving the other team an opportunity just to get organised and everything. I think if you mix it up, that's probably the utopia where you have the best of both worlds. If you've got something that you've worked on that clearly you can gain an advantage from, like we did today. Bernardo's movement was superb, and as you say, if he ends up scoring, then you're looking at a goal of the season contender. But the keeper got a save to it. But shorts with a purpose. Otherwise, take advantage and get your best delivery.
Yeah.
Scales.
I get that. I totally understand that argument as well. I also think, that first set piece that they tried to work with the wee Bernardo flick, it bred the confidence to try something, a wee bit more thought out again. That's gave him the confidence. And you talk about growing for confidence. Well, Kyogo scores that one, and instantly he won't be done for the day now. And I think he's a bit of a confidence player at times, Kyogo. It's easy to say that they know and identify his runs and things. What if the runs aren't runs that players would expect them to? It's make them all great runs because they're done at a fast pace. So suddenly he times it to absolute perfection at Engels' assist, superb on a plate for him. But that's what happens when the confidence starts flowing again, and he was never missing it. And yet he had a half chance in the first half, if you remember, when he kind of was on the spin.
Aye,
that's the change, mate. He scores that first one, whether it was a header on the line or not. And poor Bernardo's sitting raging. Whether it's that or not, it breeds that confidence. And suddenly, that finish looked far more like the natural killer Kyogo that you refer to. But some ball from Engels as well.
I'm glad you recall that. Yeah. So that's the first two goals. Hitate's been heavily involved. Bernardo will get the assist on the second one, but Hitati was key on both of those. Then this one, the delivery from Engels is excellent. And as you say, you've now got a Kyogo who's already scored one. Confidence, he's buzzing. and you're just expecting him to put the ball in the net, and he obliges.
He obliges with aplomb, Terry, and then it was time really to get the other cast out onto the park, and you've seen Cam McGregor coming on, you've seen Maeda coming on. It's like they're indispensable parts of our first team, and they're coming off the bench now to add a wee bit. They've got McCowan coming on. I think maybe one who's unlucky not to start today. It's just the way it's panned out. You've got Ralston coming on to get Johnston's sort of minutes banked, if you like, not on the park. And of course, instant involvement. That's what you're looking for. Talk to me about Maeda's finishing now. In comparison to what we've been used to in the 2.5 years he's been here, we're now getting a variety of finishes, and they're no longer clumsy. I used to always think he scores the scuffiest goals in the world. Now it's chopping back onto his right foot against Leipzig, curling it off the post far corner. Today it's, I'm going to go the same corner, but outside of the right boot this time. I mean, it does seem like his finishing is went up, not even just a couple of notches, a hell of a lot of notches. And I'd be interested if someone could tell me in the chat how many goals he's now scored this season. Must be
I'm sure somebody in the chat. I'm sure somebody in the chat. Correct you and say it was Bruges, but anyway, I wouldn't do that.
Oh shit! shit!
I think he's added one trait, Bhoycie, that you would never have associated with him. And whenever I see Maeda, I cannot get Mark Kearney's Wayne with a balloon at a wedding on a can of Red Bull. I still can never get that out of my head. But one thing that he's added is composure. He's now got composure. You now expect him to score, whereas I think up until this season you didn't expect him to score. You hoped that he would score, but now you expect him to finish. And I just think
his technique's got better as well, though. I feel like his technique with these finishes is not what I was associating. I thought at times he could be clumsy. There was the odd wee moment. Remember Easter Road, he scored an absolute screamer, but then he'd missed one for like 3 yards in the same game. Now, though, I just think even the way he's striking the ball, it just looks, a bit cleaner. I don't know what the change could be there at this point in time, but I feel like he's a better all-round footballer than what we were used to before.
It doesn't help when he comes out after scoring the winning penalty and telling everybody that he mishit it.
That was a blast from the past, that strike, to be fair. Yeah, that was more like it.
Yeah, I don't know. Bhoycie, just composure. He just looks calmer. He just looks high on confidence. He just looks as if he actually believes, rather than he's getting a shot away and he's kind of hoping it goes in. So 13 for the season. That's a pretty decent return for not playing through the middle.
That's the one behind Coon. That is only one behind Coon. So you're looking at two guys.
He'll be high enough on assists as well. I'm sure he'll not have 0 assists. I think you've got to consider as well that this guy is a striker, or he was a striker before he came to Celtic, and the international manager has always seen him as a striker. And you can't be a striker. Well, you can be a striker and not score goals, because there's a guy over at Ibrox that does that. But he has to. He's scored a lot of goals throughout his career, but he never struck you as someone who was a natural finisher. But he definitely has added something to his game where, you're getting into every game. When Coon got that ball and cut inside, you knew it was going to be a goal. But if Maeda is 1-on-1 with a goalkeeper, you now totally expect to see the net bulge.
Definitely, mate. He's a complete threat, and he's again, I think his base form has been under Brendan. I thought he improved even last season a bit, and then this year it's like another level. And he is. See, it's a big game. There's a select few that are must picks at fit, and Maeda is now one of them. And before, I don't think he was a certainty as a starter as that before, but now, yeah, I think that the box of tricks he brings, and some of them you could do at a kid's party with a balloon eye, but I think that the box of tricks he brings must just be hell for opponents. And now he adds the finishing on top, and he's punishing you now. When he gets in behind, he just punishes you. So, he's became a scary prospect for us, and he's been a real success story of the Rodgers second era as well. I think definitely I've seen him improve.
Aye, because he was probably what you would regard as the sort of stereotypical Ange player, just the pressing machine, and he kind of became like almost a cartoon character sort of thing, and we've had the chats around cult heroes, and it was like Maeda, yeah, you let him away with all the poor touches and poor crosses and poor finishes because of what he gives you in terms of his world-class pressing. But now he's actually starting to look like a footballer as well. And as you say, that's a scary prospect. I've talked about Kyogo's numbers maybe dropping off, but you've now got a guy on the left and a guy on the right who are both absolutely on fire and look like causing havoc every single time they get the ball. But not only that, they look like causing havoc every single time the right back or left back gets the ball, because Coon can press as well. And
definitely,
I described him as he was like Maeda on the right hand side. I think it was the game against Leipzig, that game where he scored a couple of goals, but his working back and his closing down and all of that was all there to see. And you've now got that on both sides, so you don't actually need your centre forward to be scoring 30 or 35 goals, because you've now got a front three who they're basically working as a team. The three of them press together. The three of them all look dangerous. Lot of threat going forward, and they're three wee tiny guys. Like they're really small in stature, but what they give you in terms of heart and effort are massive.
Absolutely right. That then rounds off the calendar year 2024, Terry. And it's not felt like it's been as successful, but stats don't lie in terms of numbers, cannot lie, but they don't always tell the full story. However, when I read out some of these to you, I swear, this is really impressive. And thanks to Hail Times 2, who regularly watches the show. He sent me it on the old WhatsApp the other day, so I thought I'd make a point of reading this out. Right, okay. We won today, so that means we have our lowest amounts of defeats in all competitions in a calendar year in over a century. After 52 games, we've only been defeated twice. Once in the league at Tynecastle, down to 10 men, controversy. That was the Beaten Gate thing, remember? And once against the Champions League finalists, Dortmund away. That's the fewest amount of defeats since 1919, when we were undefeated for the whole year, but we only played 40 games that year, 12 fewer than we have this year, and none of them were in Europe. So again, pretty astounding. Can you hear me okay, yeah?
Yeah, of course I can. I was just walking over the bridge.
No worries, mate. It's the first time in over 20 years we've been undefeated at home in all competitions for a full calendar year, and it's only the third time it's happened in 100 years. We also this year have an 80% win record, the highest percentage in the last 50 years. Talk to me about these records there, Terry. That is unbelievable. I could prompt you if you're needing any reread out or whatever. Do you know what I mean? But 2 defeats in 53. I think it's 53 games we've played this year. 2 defeats, both away from home. Our first season at home, like unbeaten in 50 year, and the fewest amount of defeats since 1919. That's astonishing times to be living in, is it not? And I think the meltdown that everyone is going to love watching right now on all the various Rangers pods, the one thing I'll say is it does not matter what they could have done better this year. They would have needed to hang with us breaking all our own records. And that ain't going to happen. That was never going to happen. It just means that the amount of points, right, that they would be behind us would be less. But they'd be behind. They would never, ever, when you read that out and you see these facts and stats, What do we honestly expect him to be able to live with that? Come on, it's just funny.
And I think, Bhoycie, the thing is, we're just going to keep going on this. We're just going to keep going, breaking record after record after record. I don't see any way this stops. And I know I've said previously this season that I see 10 in a row. I see as many in a row as Celtic want. I don't see, as long as we want to continue this domination, it's going to continue. And I know that you can point to the likes of Man City's collapse this season, which I could never ever have predicted. And you've always got the potential for that. But I heard one Rangers podcaster sort of say, that what's happened to Man City could happen to Celtic if we can just get one result and put them under pressure, and that whole fold like a deck of cards thing. I mean, the domination that Celtic have had, I could never ever have predicted it. And I know Phil always talks about going Celtic da, but thinking back to whenever I watched Rangers dominate, not even as much as we're dominating now, because even whenever they done nine in a row, we were still more than capable of getting results against them, and regularly did get results against them. It was just the games against the other teams that we struggled in. But they don't look able to beat us, and they might turn around. I said the other day to Phil, they're due a result against us, and they might get one next week. But see this game on Thursday. It is absolutely must win for Rangers. But the damning indictment is, even if they win, it doesn't matter a jot. It doesn't mean anything. It's a game they have to win. They must win it. But even if they do, it means absolutely nothing, because there's just such a gulf between the team on the field, the club, the way the club's run.
Mate, it's about these records what I've read out to you there. This is the thing. They could be a far better version of themselves, mate, and they wouldn't live with these stats. They would not live with these sequences of wins and draws. That's what I think. We're sometimes overly critical of ourselves too often, and because that defies all the amount of criticism that's been dished out over the last year, and I include myself in that, by the way, of course. And then we're always looking for the point and laughing at Rangers. Rangers could have had a fantastic league campaign this year. It wouldn't marry up with what we're doing right now. This is extraordinary stuff. So they would still be second, even if they were better running a better version of them, unless they were having, at the same time, their best season in 100 years or whatever, which is unlikely. So we've got to be pat ourselves about patting the team and the manager in the back a wee bit, maybe more than what we do. And the one other thing I was going to say to you about these records, unsurprisingly, in my opinion, I've kind of been banging the drum a long time, they all coincide with a good European campaign so far. This is how domestic stuff gets looked after when you start focusing on being a force in Europe again. And I do think the signings we made in the summer showed there was a shift in attitude to the Champions League again. Too little, too late for me, because the automatic places aren't guaranteed next year. It should have been before this. It should have been long before. But when you see the progress in Europe, suddenly domestic, we were out of form the last 4 weeks, remember? But when a League Cup, 2-4-0s, away draw, fucking come on. That's fantastic, mate. No one's living with that.
I caught a comment from Regan just amongst the chat after the game there, just before we went live. And you're never ever gonna, through a league campaign, you're never ever gonna be brilliant for all 38 games. But I think because we've just become accustomed to Celtic being brilliant, when we fall short of our absolute best, then people start to ask questions, and people think we're out of form, and all of that kind of thing. The game against Dundee United, we weren't brilliant, but if Kyogo controls that and puts it in the net, you've got 3 points in a very, very similar way. I thought that game was very similar to the game against Aberdeen. Just the wind, the high wind, total domination of the ball, not creating a lot of chances. You then create a key one, which against Aberdeen, Hitati scores, and you get the 3 points. and you're up the road. Against Dundee United, Kyogo's touch wasn't perfect, and we didn't get the goal, and we didn't get the 3 points. But there's always going to be games like that, and you just cannot be absolutely scintillating every single week. And through this slump that's been described, we've only dropped points in that game. We've not been conceding goals, and we're knocking in 3-0s and 4-0s all over the place. So it's not a bad slump to be in.
I totally agree with you, Peter, and I just think it was good to see even reading it. It just it took me by surprise, if I'm totally honest with you. I didn't know the numbers were that good. Do you know what I mean? That is scary stuff.
It's an amazing time to be a Celtic supporter, Bhoycie, and I'm just completely lapping it up. But it's now got to the stage that, like, I remember a time where the Rangers score was almost as important as the Celtic score, and you used to have a high amount of people going into Celtic Park with their wee transistor radios. They'd be listening to the commentary in the Rangers game because it was so nip and tuck. It was so nip and tuck that the score in the other game almost mattered as much as the score in the game that you were actually physically at.
Of course.
And see today, whenever Motherwell went 1-0 up, I made a scribble on my page that you give me stick for. There wasn't even a murmur around Celtic Park whenever Motherwell went 1-0 up against Rangers, because it doesn't matter what happens in the Rangers game anymore. It just doesn't matter. Now, when it went 2-0, there was a bit of a roar went up, and there was a bit of a sing song, and it was the ho 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 and all that, and you got a bit of a reaction from the crowd at 2-0, but it's now at the stage where nobody gives a fuck what's going on with the Rangers game. It's of no relevance. It doesn't have any importance. You don't have anybody checking in on what's happening in the Rangers game. It's just such a shift in the power and the difference that has come over this club in the last 10, 20, 30, 40 years. The Rangers game doesn't matter anymore. The only time it really matters is when we're playing them. And like I've said, we play them in 4 days' time, and that doesn't really matter either, because we're just on a completely different level.
Well, it absolutely doesn't really, because I think right now, as I say, the gap's 14 points. Will he survive that? He probably might get a point. He probably will survive it, their manager. But again, I go back to it, and what we're doing.
He threw somebody else under the bus today. I kind of caught a wee tiny bit. The sports science department told him that he shouldn't play player. I don't even know the names of these players. He shouldn't play certain players because they were in the red zone for potential injury. So I think
red zone.
I think
he's in the red zone.
People under the bus. So do you know what I mean? Like, and the only thing I'm worried about now, Bhoycie, is he might get the sack before Thursday. That would be
that's what I'm saying. I mean, it could.
This guy's brilliant. He talks more shit than Bale.
But like I say, it makes no odds. This is what when you get properly decent managers, and you start, I think, behaving like a bigger club, Celtic did from the summer as well. And I do think that's been a huge thing from our point of view, that albeit it was late, and we had loads of different criticisms of how the window went, and I stand by all of them, it was still a marked improvement for the one before and the one before that, right? That is no two ways about that. And it did feel like, maybe clumsily, maybe begrudgingly, if we're being honest, they were going to start, going a wee bit bigger. And that has changed the mentality. I think a lot of these guys, I think Ingles has came sold on, obviously he'd be told Stepping Stone FC and that, and look, you'll probably get a big move to the EPL and things like this. I think they'll be part of all conversations when we sign someone from Celtic, as much as it annoys me. But the real reason a guy leaves the Bundesliga is because the Champions League campaign that's on offer from Celtic this time has been pitched to him as one where we are going to try and qualify. Not, we're the team who get like the 2 points, you know what I mean, each year, escape, win a dead rubber. And I think that's how you've sold it to like the likes of an Ingles, for example, leaving a top 3 league in the world. I don't know, something like that, top 5 minimum. And to leave that to come to Scotland, That you don't come there just to get whipped in the Champions League. You come there because it's been sold to you that we're actually going to make a fist of this time. And by doing so, and letting Rodgers coach a lot of the players that were already there, make them better, having that extra depth in the squad, but everyone else then feeling, when they see a 9 million player, 11 million player, it has a ripple effect that's a positive, mate. I don't know why people used to go, can't break the wage structure for Calmac. Calmac wants to see the best players come to Celtic, in my opinion. I can't speak for him, but sure he does. And you won't be thinking, oh, will he get paid more than me? I just can't believe that would be his attitude to it. But what will turn the players' heads is, holy fuck, we've broke a transfer record twice. We've not done, it took us 18 years to break the certain one. So when they see that, it gives everyone that extra belief that, hey, maybe we're just ready to arrive in Europe here. And if we arrive even remotely close to like a last 16 of the Champions League, I'm speculating, of course, don't be surprised that domestic stuff is taking care of itself. Because when you're focusing on that elite tournament, the domestic one won't be a scoosh, but it'll take care of itself to a point because you've got your shit in order for the highest standard there can be in club football. It's so obvious that these things go together.
Yeah, if you tool up for Europe, then you're going to have a team that should be able to deal with anything domestically. And I think it's important as well, Bhoycie. We're obviously sitting on a 14-point lead, which by Thursday could be extended to as much as 17. But what I then want to see is, I want to see us kick on again in this January window. I want to see us go out and go another at least 2. Let's go and get another 2. What message does that send out when you're worst case 11 points clear, best case 17 points clear, and you go and bring in 2 more first team players?
Yeah, mate. And that's been the big bugbear we've had before, is were we reacting to what they were doing? You know, if we were getting so far ahead that we were kind of almost like shorten the leash on what a manager could and couldn't spend at the football, the director of football web. And it's like, well, don't be obsessed with what they're doing, because if they were fortunate enough to be in our position, we'd leave us for dust. There's
well,
one eye on.
When they were cheating, and you're thinking, you know, we're going out and signing
Willie Faulkner, and they sign Gaza.
Yeah, we're signing Willie Faulkner, and they're signing Gaza and Laudrup. Do you know what I mean? They didn't care. They didn't care about leaving us behind. But I think, Bhoycie, what this season's Champions League, this revamped Champions League, which we've all fallen in love with because we got a nice draw and we look as if we're gonna get through. We need to be in next year's Champions League. We need to make sure that happens. And in order to do that,
January
we need to get on again. January becomes key.
Good point.
You're thinking 6 months, you're thinking 8 months ahead when that draw gets made next year, or not even when the draw gets made, when we have to play these qualifiers and you don't know how tricky or not tricky that's going to be. You would hope that we would be able to navigate it, but you should then take the doubt out of that by kicking on again from a position of strength, which is not something that we've been good at doing historically.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely spot on, and that'll be a big fans as well. As you know, has it been just a window of, you know, the unexpected business from Celtic that isn't part of a new, you know, a new era, whatever you want to call it, and a new vision? Is it going to be back to the Pish? I sincerely hope not. They must feel a bit of goodwill right now with the fans. It's such a happy place right now in comparison to this time, even last year. And you know, just capitalize on that.
You speculate to accumulate, and the money that we'll have made from the Champions League, the Peter Lawwell line has always been, we need to make sure that we've got money for a rainy day if we don't qualify, rather than let's spend the money to make sure we qualify.
We have something to do.
And for a club that's so obsessed with making money, we've slept at the wheel so many times, especially when there was no Rangers to compete with, because that Champions League is the biggest cash cow going, and it just was negligence that we didn't make sure that we qualified for that party year in, year out. And you just hope that we don't go back to those days where we hoard for the rainy day. We just go and make sure that we're in it, and then you benefit from the riches that go along with it. And as long as last summer wasn't a one-off, and we revert to type, and it's 2s and 3 millions, and hope for the best. With Celtic, anything's possible, but this is the opportunity. Surely they can see that you've got to be at this table. You've got to be at this top table in Europe's premier competition, and you can influence that. You can influence your chances of qualifying next year by going out and strengthening when you're already doing well, and you're already having one of your best seasons in recent history in the competition.
Same board though when we got to the last 16 of the Champions League under Lenny, still didn't go for it then. So that if the penny was going to drop, it'd be beating Barcelona, actually qualifying out of that really tricky group. And then I think that's where Lennon kind of lost his mojo for it. I think they'd still qualified for the Champions League the next year, but it was a dismal campaign, that one, chalk and cheese. And I think then that was the real sort of wake up call that these guys are, as you just said, they're sleeping at the wheel with what actually progresses clubs more. Actually, I think the turnover that we've done of the record-breaking ones, we could have had a lot more of them sprinkled over the last 10, 15 years. I think we could have, big time, had we believed more.
This summer becomes key in terms of what's the manager going to do. Is he going to commit beyond his 3 years? I think what will be a key part of that is he'll want to kick on again, and if the club isn't prepared to do that, then the likelihood is that he wouldn't commit beyond the 3 years. So yep. I think you have a key point coming up there. Do you retain Brendan Rodgers and try to kick on and go up another level, or do you downsize, go with John Kennedy, and go back to your £2 and £3 million signings? So I think it all ties in.
No, I think that's spot on, mate. Absolutely spot on. And I think he always, everything he says has got a wee bit of sort of depth to it, if you like. And he said, one of his speeches after a win or something like that, he said, I said I'd be here for 3 years. And just the way he said it, I thought, he's keeping everything right. So if you make a wee montage of clips, he can't be caught out this time. He said, I said 3 years.
Yeah.
They wanted me to sign on a new deal after just 2, and I wasn't prepared to do that. And he's going to say, look, I've signposted it the whole way. So I think you've got a point there. What he's doing is going, one's bitten, twice as shy with this motley crew. Do you know what I mean? I've seen the improvements now, but I don't rest at my laurels. I want that to continue to go in the direction that he sees fit for Celtic and a better version of Celtic. And by the way, I've got a wee idea that he probably knows what he's talking about. He's kind of bang on with a lot of his theories that will make us a better version of ourselves. And we probably will make more money out of that as well. Right, Jerry, I'm going to leave it and watch the rest of the meltdowns that are going on across YouTube right now. Listen, thanks very much, mate, for coming on.
Well, it's good to have you back.
Thanks, pal. Shout out to your boy Kyle I met over in Tenerife, and he couldn't believe I had a haircut, but he was raving about the bus and that. It was class, man. Honestly, it's the chances of that, honestly. So a big shout out to you, Kyle, if you are watching. If you're still on holiday, no one expects you to be watching, mate. Just go enjoy yourself. Right, okay, Terry, my man. Thanks very much for that. Yep. And I will see the rest of you all later as well. Cheers.
See you Thursday.
Yes.